Welcome to The Corner, LaSource's digital show dedicated to the sport and entertainment industry. Every 2 weeks, we invite a professional to share their experience, background, and challenges. The sport industry moves fast, and having their insights is the best way to keep up to speed. Welcome to The Corner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of LaSource. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Steve with us. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Doing very well today.
Where are you in the world?
Currently in New York, working in the NBA's office over here. So yeah, it's very hot, very humid these days. But hanging in there, as they say here.
Yeah, I think it's the same. Like, I'm in Paris at the moment. I have to go to Germany tomorrow. I think now it's like 40 degrees, like
Oh,
110 Fahrenheit, maybe something like that. And we still have the heat wave, and tomorrow in Germany is going to be worse. So, hanging in there with you, mate. Hanging in there.
yeah.
As we start, usually, we like a bit as part of the podcast to have some kind of a short introduction from the guest in terms of where it comes from, what is like personal journey, and then after that, we deep dive a bit more on the professional pathway. So, if you could give like our listeners a quick run through who you are, why sports, what you did when you were young, and all of that.
No, absolutely. Thanks for first, thanks for having me on the podcast. I think, so I'm originally from France, not too far away from Germany, where you will be headed tomorrow. So, a city called Strasbourg. Was born and raised there. Studied there for about 20 years until I moved to Marseille in the south of France, where very different climate, very different vibes, but really, really enjoyed my time there. In a nutshell, just followed kind of a standard, educational path in France, at least for the first part of it. And at the same time, I was also swimming quite intensively for, 22, 23 years in my life. So, that was kind of what was taking most of my time. I stayed in Strasbourg until I was 20 years old, which is when I moved to Marseille to complete kind of my, training, I would say, or more so education, where I did a master's in management for 3 years. Um, Continued swimming there as well. I was lucky enough to swim with some of the fastest
Are you
athletes in the country.
elite level? Yeah, it was elite
So
level or.
I didn't reach elite level until I moved to Marseille. Just because the way and this is very different from here in the US, but the way the system works in France, when you hit 18 and you've had a standard path from an educational standpoint, you almost kind of have to choose between trying to become an athlete and studying, because there are like a couple of exemptions for very, very talented athletes, which I was not at the time. But otherwise, you really have to pick one or the other. And for me, I ended up picking the kind of more so traditional path and studied. But yeah, as I matured and got older and moved to Marseille, I just carried on swimming. And when I moved to Marseille, I trained with Le Cercle des Nageurs de Marseille for a bit, about 6 months, which obviously at the time, was hosting some of the most famous and some of the faster sprinters in the world, really, because that's exactly when France was performing really well at an international level. So yeah, stayed there for 6 months and then went to another smaller club, and that's when I started qualifying for the French national championships. So qualified 3 years in a row for those championships. So 2014, 2015, and 2016, which were also qualifiers for the Rio Olympics. So that was a really, really fun experience.
Were you
Obviously
like kind of a only swimming, or was it like cross sports big fan? Like you were following any kind of sports, or
following any kind of sports, that's always been a driver for me. But really, the sport I was good at was swimming. So in terms of like what I was doing was primarily swimming. Yeah. So long story short, but yeah.
still swimming today or not? Because usually swimming is hard, and after people once they stop, at some point they never get back to it.
Yeah. Every time I go, it's hard. Because I feel like my body still has some sort of a memory of what it was like to swim, but my muscles no longer have the resistance. So yeah, it's a really, really hard one. So I've moved to New York like a year ago, and I've only swum 2 times since I moved here. But I was swimming regularly in the UK, in London, before moving here. But yeah, I've now transitioned a bit more into doing a bit of running. I've done some CrossFit. I'm doing pickleball now, obviously, because it's a very famous sport. Here I'm just doing a
Like
bunch of
paddle in
uh,
Europe. Yeah.
like paddle in Europe. Yeah. Um,
I think you should be starting soon as triathlon because, like if you run, bike is it's not the easiest. Bike is just like hard push, but in every triathlete, like the problem is more the swimming. And so even if you swim average, you would kill everybody. So after you just need to be a bit good on the bike and then you would kill and hammer everybody on the competition. So
no, I've
for your 40s.
yeah. Actually, when I was younger, so like growing up, I used to do triathlon just because, to your point, as swimmers, and because we were training so much, we had the resistance as well, so it was pretty easy for us to just go and do a triathlon. So yeah, used to love it. I did a few when I was in Switzerland as well, but didn't keep up with it. But I feel like, to your point, very soon I might get back into it, and trying to do an Ironman at some point. Like that's kind of the goal. But there is a lot you need to commit to in order to do that. I think, like
Yeah.
from a training standpoint, it's pretty complicated.
Do that before having kids and everything. But okay, clear. But you've mentioned London office, now you are at the HQ and everything, but like if we start with like 10 years ago when you were in Marseille, after I think you moved back to Strasbourg, right? Like you started the professional journey was you were in Strasbourg and then I think you moved to Paris. Can you let because I don't think you started with basketball straight off, right?
So I actually started with basketball. So it was a 6 month internship in the professional basketball club of my hometown, so Strasbourg, who, by the way, was performing super well at the time. So we were unfortunately didn't win a championship, but we went to the finals 4 years in a row, or 4 seasons in a row. So that was amazing. Um, so no, had a 6 month internship there where I was primarily helping our commercial and events team. So it was a mix of helping uh, to get contracts along across the line, distributing tickets on game nights, helping all kind of the partner hospitality function. So it was really, really fun. Like I had an amazing 6 months there. It was also pretty unexpected because I never sent a resume to the guy who hired me at the time, and he didn't remember how he got my CV. So I got pretty lucky there. After 6 months there, I moved to Geneva to work for the FIA, so in motorsport. They had that thing at the time where you had to do a 12 months internship rather than a 6 months internship, which was more standard in France. So I signed up for 12 months in their marketing and events department, which also included more so the sponsorship subgroup. So yeah, I was really on sponsorship. So working across business development, partner management for the federation. So it's managing, some of the federation's partners, trying to secure new partners for some of the events that we were doing at the time. So, FIA prize giving and a few others. And so I ended up staying about 20 months there. So moved there in March 2015, and I stayed there until October 2016.
And how was the life in Geneva? For me, that I've lived there for like 2 years while I was in my UEFA days.
Uh,
Hard question.
it was so for me, because I was just coming out of business school. It was a bit too
Yeah.
how can I say that nicely? It wasn't intense enough.
People who knows, people
Yeah.
who know Switzerland or have been living into the international federation spaces would understand. Like, it fits better when you have a family life and when you're 40 and you go outdoor and everything. If you want to have like a buzzing student or early career life, this is not necessarily the best place to live.
Yeah, which is also why the move to London was really good from that standpoint. Because
Is it because it was also very much related to the partnership? Because since the start, because when you moved to London, it was also, correct me, but I think you were really part of the partnership team as well.
yeah, 100%. I think the way it came about was so my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she was in Paris whilst I was in Geneva, and obviously we're both originally from France. We couldn't really portray ourselves in Geneva at the time. Didn't necessarily want to live in Paris either at the time, and so London was very attractive because it was, obviously English speaking, new culture, kind of new way of working, and it was really close to home. So that's how we ended up kind of pushing both of us for a move there. So she moved within her own company, as she was working for the Nielsen company at the time, who had offices in London. So she kind of did an internal move, and I was looking for a job at the time. Thankfully, I was able to secure a project employee at the time. So it was a maternity cover at the NBA for 6 months. Uh, Brexit hadn't happened, so didn't need a work visa, didn't need anything really. Just moved there, went to the local kind of admin shop to have a national insurance number, and that's all you really needed to move in the UK at the time. So that was pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Easy. Yeah, and you had also, was back in that days where they started to have the London game as well. Correct me.
So right before, yes, so London games were already happening on a yearly basis up until I joined. So up until 2015 or even 2016, I believe, we were also having preseason games in Europe at the NBA. So I think just before, like a couple of weeks before I joined, the team was in Barcelona and Madrid, because pretty sure the OKC Thunder at the time. So that was, not the team that just won the championship, but Russell Westbrook back in the days, etc. They played,
Yeah.
I think, FC Barcelona and Real Madrid, like 2 days apart. And we were at the time just doing games all over Europe. So, we had games in Istanbul, we had games in Berlin, Madrid, Barcelona, just literally everywhere. And obviously, when I joined, or just after I joined, and not because of me, but we kind of moved back to what we had prior to this time, which was one regular season game per season. So that was London for a very long time. Then we added games in Abu Dhabi, thanks to a partnership with the Department of Culture and Tourism there. And London ended up moving to Paris as well, pre-COVID. So we had our first regular season game in Paris in 2020, then had to stop because of COVID, and had to wait a couple of years before bringing it back. But no, yeah, it was a really exciting time and period at the time. A bit of uncertainty as well.
Yeah, because for me it's like, now like it's easy to look back and say, yeah, NBA, was easy or everything. But I remember back in the days, even like 10 years ago, it was not the presence of any was there, but it's not necessarily a quick win or something where it's that easy. So, I mean, I think I don't know the challenges, but it could have been interesting for you back in the day, like almost 10 years ago, to see how a league can try to grow not within its own territory, like its national territory, but beyond, especially across many different, let's say, culture and different entities. So that must have been some kind of a good eye opener and learnings as well from the business of sports with partnerships, actually.
Yeah, no, it was, and I think really, obviously, that's always the line. But most of our games are in the middle of the night. If you're a fan in Europe, we have introduced now for over a decade what we called NBA Saturdays and NBA Sundays. So those were primetime games on the weekends. But besides that, your games will be at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. So it's really hard for a fan to follow, and therefore also pretty hard for a brand first to activate the brand, so the partnership itself, so the NBA partnership, and to also um, to really like get behind the property as it would be for a game that plays in daylight. So I think the way we positioned the brand at the time was, it's obviously basketball is a very important part of it, but it's in Europe for us, it was not so much about the basketball itself, but everything that comes with it. So, think about culture, fashion, music, gaming. Obviously, NBA 2K, is an amazing property played by millions of players on a yearly basis. So, the way we were positioning most of our partnerships and also pitching brands when we were, speaking to recruit new partners was really, hey, it's beyond the game of basketball. Obviously, basketball is the source of it, but then there is so much we can achieve together beyond that. So that was really kind of our brand positioning at the time. I think it still is, because obviously the games are still in the middle of the night, even though we're bringing a bit, like a few more games now to the regions. It's only a handful a year, so you need to be creative when it comes to really trying to
Yeah,
create a relationship with a brand.
I was about to ask you because after partnership, you moved to the distribution, so on the media side of things. And correct me, but from where I see the product of the NBA, it's really what you were saying, like entertainment, culture. There is a real positioning which is different from classic, let's say, sports IP, especially in Europe, where everything you've just said on the partnership side echoes a bit, even on the media, because of how they are positioning it and everything. But maybe you've done way more work over the past, I don't know, months and years in terms of the way you try to distribute it better for the European time zones, maybe, but maybe as well have a packaged product which through the app, through the digital platforms, that allows for more conveying this message around the culture and all the rest that you are referring to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we were one of the first, if not the first, league to really embrace social media as well when it all started. So I think one way for us to stay connected with fans was to, have those highlights and best plays ready for like European audience right in the morning as they wake up. You go on X, you go on Meta, you go on any platform really that's available. You will find NBA content. So I think beyond the live game experience, that was really something that helped us develop first a large audience, but then also a very young audience. And that's another thing that I believe is very attractive for brand partners, but also media partners. We skew really young when it comes to our fan base. Very often tech savvy, fashionable fans that really like everything that comes with it. So besides, yeah, to your point, beyond the pure live game experience, which we are also obviously investing a lot in. We have developed a very clear and solid social media strategy in terms of distributing our highlights. We have our NBA app, which is now fully developed in-house, launched about almost 3 years ago now. I can't believe that. But yeah, we have
And it's
an app,
personalized content and everything
personalized content.
tailored for you. Yeah.
You have a little bit of a social media experience on it as well. So at the top you have stories. You can work through that, and our team have really done an amazing job from that standpoint. And so
And Steve, just
yeah,
before we jump, I was wondering for Europe and Middle East, because I think what you were saying on the younger demographics is like when you were doing like media deals or when you were discussing with different territories, to which extent this kind of young, like Gen Z or Gen A, whatever the way you want to call it, but this kind of demographics, or even like the 25-34, still young for me, um, to which extent that was really a game changer, or you saw the appetite compared to the classic rights that were here on the market?
I think it's really when we were like doing fan studies or looking at the fans that are coming to our games and our events, we really saw that obviously they were out there and consuming our content. And I think also it's down to really the social media experience and how those fans now consume sport really is obviously they will watch games here and there, but it's harder to keep them in front of a screen for like 2 or 3 hours. So that's where we're trying to complement that with everything that we do besides that. So it will be your social media, it will be the content that you find on the app, which also, by the way, we haven't touched on that. We have our own direct to consumer product called NBA League Pass. That same launched about 15 years ago. So kind of we're trying to build an ecosystem, and between the media partners and also our brand partners, build an ecosystem that can really help connect those fans all together and make sure that we are able to reach them in a consistent way as much as we can.
And for me, it's more kind of an internal like reflection, but usually, especially now in France, but in many other territories, like sports has always been developed around exclusivity and big media rights. You kind of show the way in terms of hybrid model where, okay, there is still exclusivity on certain territories, but there can be also D2C approach with the league pass. There can also be, yes, we want to go through media rights, but we acknowledge the need for social media and so eyeball. And so kind of, it's not one way or the other, but it can be mutual. But I was wondering, we're quite involved into that kind of things, and ourselves we're helping different leagues. But where I find the difficulty for top exec or for leaders to actually come to, okay, I'm moving from my classic exclusive broadcast rights deal, and I'm carving out certain part to actually go more on the D2C. Everything is more, I don't know if it's the internal resistance, but it's kind of the culture, or it's like the fear, also like the risk adversity is one thing. But I don't know how it played out in NBA, or if you have stuff, or was it like the thing I'm trying to get to is, was it kind of a lean and easy and smooth journey because from top to bottom there was a clear understanding on how the landscape is changing, how the audience is shifting, fragmented as well across different platforms and touch points? Or was it also difficult to a certain extent? Because from the outside, it seems like it was quite smooth to a certain extent, which is really not the case from most of the leagues or sports IP we tend to know or work with.
Yeah, no, very very good point. I think number one, we have, I believe, like really, and we have had historically visionary leaders. So I quickly touched on League Pass early on, but our D2C product has been live for over 15 years now. So when you think about it, it's something that's there and it's not going away. So when we enter, a relationship with a media partner, they know that it's there, and they just we will work with them on ways to optimize that, because there is also a way to partner with our partners on the best to distribute that product. But we know that this product will be there. And just very little caveat on the League Pass itself. It's a slightly different product in the US and Canada versus internationally, just because obviously we have very large media relationships here in the US, and so the games that are called national games are not part of League Pass, versus internationally, except in a few markets, most of the games will be available. Actually, all of the games will be available on League Pass, which is a great strength for us. I think the a very large and big difference for us as well from that standpoint is that the volume of games that we have. So, we have 30 teams. They play 82 games each. So in total, that's over 1,200 games per season. So when you think about it, even though we have a product D2C, there is still well enough mass for our broadcast partners to show games themselves as well. And realistically, we have nights where you have up to 13, 14, 15 games. Like, our partners cannot, take it all and put it all on air, realistically on air.
Yeah.
So that's where, we see really League Pass as a complement to whatever our broadcast partners are doing in the markets. So
And
I
especially
think
with
how,
international growth as well.
sorry, what, can
Okay.
you repeat?
Yeah, I was saying also with the international growth, so protecting the local market, but also like international expansion and more eyeballs overseas is also part of the strategy, I guess.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, League Pass coming in as a complement to what our partners are doing. And again, very often we're working with our partners to offer League Pass at a discounted rate to their subscribers, just trying to bring, again, the whole ecosystem together. Obviously, that's also about to change next season, because we have signed a pretty significant deal with Amazon, who will become also an exclusive distributor of NBA League Pass going forward. So, the product will become available in the Prime Video channels market starting next season. So that's another pretty exciting development phase for the product and for the reach of the league.
And it's on the global scale, right? It's like Apple with MLS for like for all the global aspect.
So there's two elements in the deal. One is the live games package that they have acquired for Prime Video, which indeed will be available globally, and then they will also ingest NBA League Pass as part of Prime Video channels market. So
Okay.
Prime Video channels, which is one of their other products where people can subscribe to services through the Amazon platform. NBA League Pass will be a product that's available on there starting from next season. It's already the case in Brazil, Mexico, and the US now. We'll just expand that to a couple of other markets starting next season. So yeah,
For
we're
you, it's really around accessibility and pushing it in as many territories as possible, from what
absolutely,
I
yeah,
hear from you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We have like
And that
live
was,
games.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say we have live games distribution in almost like every single country in the world, and some of them are on a territory by territory basis, and then some of them where it's more relevant to have a pan-regional partner. We will partner with larger companies. So historically in the Middle East, we've had a partnership with Bein Sports, because they're very relevant out there, and they've been doing an amazing job. In the Baltics, we've been working with Go3 for a while, TV3. So, we're just trying to find whoever is the most I would say, advanced partner in the region, and also the one that can help us push the property as much as possible.
Yeah. And I was wondering, like, as part of the strategy, because without saying like data is gold and all the bullshits we hear around, well, it's not bullshit, but all these kind of famous like buzzwords, but it's in terms of understanding the fans, all the insights. I'm wondering to which extent the League Pass has also helped you like tailor this kind of territory per territory approach in terms of, okay, who are the core fans that connect still at 2 a.m. in certain territories to enjoy their parking live, to maybe the 80 other percent where they wake up at 7 or 8 a.m. locally and, okay, they're a fan of, if I'm Spanish, like Paul Gasol, or if I'm French, maybe Tony Parker or whomever in Germany. And then I'm like, I'm having my 30 seconds or 60 seconds or 2 minutes highlights. And so I was wondering the synergies that you have between maybe through the League Pass, understanding these kind of audiences, knowing exactly who are their preferred teams, players, and so being able to go to a Bean Sports or whatever the broadcasters and tell them maybe you should broadcast that game or that game because there's a French. They know because there's French player, they are more likely to have fans watching, but it's also terms of knowing and maybe shaping a bit the product differently, or maybe the question I would have is like, how have you leveraged that also for commercial through partnership, but also to rethink maybe the rights at large or the different products you had?
Yeah, no, I think data is core to every decision that we make. We've been leaning heavily on data for a very long time. To your point, from a brand partnership standpoint, was more so sponsorship. When I was working on that team in London, that was also a key driver of the decisions we were making and how we were potentially working with some brands over the others in terms of what our fans like, what they like to see, how the brand is perceived, how we can potentially you know amend some of the campaigns we were working on based on that. And then yeah, you're absolutely spot on from a media standpoint. Like, we will analyze the data that we get through League Pass, but also, we have a membership program called NBA ID that also helps us, collect data. We also work with our brand partners and our retail partners to collect data from those, partnerships. So, kind of all of that help us identify, to your point, who are, the most favorite teams in this country over this country, and based on that work with our partners to make sure that they broadcast the most exciting games for the fans in every single country. So in France, obviously we'll try to push the French players as much as we can, but we also know that the Bulls are still a very relevant team there. So the Warriors, obviously, because they've won so many championships in the past 10 years. So kind of all of that is coming together as we work with our partners.
Okay. And in terms of like, I know like each partnership is unique because being a brand or media partner, they're all looking for, I would say, like different things. Like they have different objectives between like either customer acquisition into their own pipe, or others are more kind of the PR and the reputation and how you can be associated to the NBA brand in terms of what it brings to them. So I know like there's always like each partnership is kind of unique on its own for a win-win, but what to you like maybe more into the media now that you master more, but maybe also in terms of partnership, it's more of a wide open question. Is like, what do you feel is key to that? Like, obviously, the grabbing the money and leaving, like, I take it all and you take all the risk being a media partner or commercial partner, we see it's no longer working. But beyond that is like, what do you see is like key, even maybe from a AWS, or the other one is like, what do you see today and maybe tomorrow being the key components of a successful partnership, being media or sponsors?
That's a very good
Tough
and
one.
complex. I was gonna say tough question. Uh, no, I think for me, the more I think about it, and the more I develop in my career, I'm trying to, and this might sound like a very classic or you know
It's okay.
standard, but like the win-win is very important. As in, obviously, we are a company. We're trying to make money and hit our targets, etc., etc. But I think more and more what I've seen through the years is that we're also trying to make sure that our partner gets the most out of its partnership, whether it's on the brand side or on the media side. um, so I will personally try to make sure the best I can to unlock whatever needs to be unlocked to
Yeah.
essentially enable the partner to also monetize the rights they're acquiring the way they should. And so I think that's why on the media side, and obviously things are about to slightly change because of the Amazon deal and them having a global package. But if you look at our partnerships like around the globe, we've been with very often the same partners for a very long time. So Sky Italia has been 30 years. Bein has been 12 or 13 years in France. You go in Asia, we've had very long-standing relationships there. In the US, Disney has been over 30 years. Like, I think really what we're trying to do is to help, like, really to create the property together and help develop it. And that's how you're able, to grow in fan base and then, keep people coming back on, like, kind of, hey, they know this game will be available XYZ at X time, this channel. And that's, yeah, I think that's really where our heads are at from, like, a media standpoint, but also to a lesser extent brand partnerships, because it's harder for a sponsor to give regular rendezvous, but you're still able to kind of grow a brand association and help develop the property this way.
And the more they
so
know about the product, the more they can also, like, after the years, better tell the stories, be online and everything. So that makes it like for the best on the two sides. But the reason a bit, the hidden reason why I was asking this was also like, because we're also focusing a lot on the technology, and what we see is more and more of the media slash brands partnership out there relies on technology to actually delivers the win you were referring to, being okay, that's my viewership audience, that's the customer acquisition, or maybe between this data set and this data set, there is only a 5% overlap. So how can over the years I can make it 7, maybe a 11, a 15%? And like you said, maybe a brand will be happy because they have been funneling into their own ecosystem, digitally speaking, or X number of NBA fans, and they're happy because, I don't know, based on metrics or quantitative surveys or qualitative through interviews, they are like, okay, we are a brand associated to NBA, and so we're happy with this. So the question I had behind was more, what does it mean from a technological standpoint in terms of you at the NBA? I know you've been always kind of innovative, trying new things, and I'm not necessarily looking at AI or whatever trends out there, but it's more, how does it translate in your day to day, maybe work with being brands in the past or media now, but it's like, what's the role of technology? How do you see it? And what is key today from a technological standpoint to make sure that you have a win-win in terms of partnership?
yeah, that's a very good question
Big
as well.
question again.
Yeah. No, I think I will try to reply. And there is one example that jumps to mind, like right away. It's more so, coming back to what we were talking about from a social media standpoint. We work with a company called WSC Sports, and it's an automated, clipping tool based on AI
Yeah.
that allows for, highlights to be delivered in a very personalized way. So to answer your question, that means, well, if we have a partner, in Germany that specifically wants to see the highlights of the German players, or specifically want to see the best dunks of the previous night or whatever, we are able through this tool to deliver those highlights kind of on an automated basis, so that when they start working in the mornings, everything's already ready and can be pushed out to either on broadcast or have it included on a newsletter or as a social media post or whatever. So I think, yeah, we try to leverage technology really everywhere and anywhere. So that's a small example, but besides that, we also have a program called NBA Launchpad, where we are incubating some startups and helping them develop. It's can be related to media, but honestly, it's also just very generally speaking related to everything that's basketball. So we will have startups that will help uh, improve the performance on court, or help improve the tracking of such or such, like field. So I think really, and that comes back really to, I think, one of the like core values of the league. It's always trying to be forward thinking, and coming up, trying to be the first ones at doing things, and that's very often comes through technology.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's
Actually, it's part of your DNA, huh? Like it has always
yeah,
been. Yeah.
yeah. I think D2C, social media. I mean, you name them. We're always like trying to be at the forefront and making sure that rather than following an industry trend, we like to like initiate an industry trend where possible.
And even with the Launchpad, I remember it started with the on pitch, so the performance side, and now it was like strong enough, or the initiative was like trusted enough internally that it expand also off pitch. So it's also like you start somewhere, but if it works and you can grow, then let's grow it. And I can remember lots of initiatives around that from the NBA. So yeah, real kudos to you as well from this, like I would say, organization standpoint, because this is usually a struggle when you think of legacy organizations in sports. Clearly, you're also based in North America, and so there's another mindset, and you have also another regulation and other objective than international federations or other leagues on earth. But still, I think that there is something there, even with Timbo or anything, that makes it unique. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I think a lot of it also comes from our owners. That obviously we have 30 team owners, and a lot of them have been highly successful in tech. So I think it's like top to bottom, where those guys have you know either created or helped developed very important tech businesses around the world, and they're trying to obviously push that down and force everyone, and that's like team offices, but also league office, to think in a different way, and see if there are ways to always get better, and leverage tech to improve X process or X way of doing this, or like kind of everything literally across the organization.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me, like the first key success factor is like the buy-in from the top management or their willingness. Like if you don't have it, you cannot move forward as an organization. So fully agree with you on that one. I'm quite cautious of your time. I know we have just like 1 or 2 minutes left, but one thing like we like also to wrap up or to end the podcast with is more like beyond all the kind of professional and all what we've been touching upon is more sometimes we have either young people or we have like people that want 15, 20 years of career that wants to go into sports, or even other which are just passionate listeners or anything. So usually we ask for a piece of advice or a good reading or whatever that is, but anything you would share as a tip or something to look at when you think of sports innovation, sports business, and based also on your own experience. Now that you've been in London, now in New York, and be traveling around as well.
Yeah, no, I think what I always like to say is it's so important to be curious and, not just kind of, um, stay or like read about or learn about your own field, but also trying to discover and really understand how other fields work. And that's really been my number one driver ever since I started working. It's also why I moved from more so the partnership slash sponsorship side to the media side a couple of years ago. And obviously now there was a transition from doing media in Europe to doing media in the US. And obviously the ecosystem here is very different with national broadcast, local broadcast.
Local networks. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I would say really the tip is, really the tip is be curious, keep reading, and not just like about your own field, but also, if you're doing sponsorship, do read about the media, read about the performance, read about even like what's happening beyond sports. So, in tech, AI now obviously is a very hot trend, but, just beyond that. And I think it just helps. He helped me at least to feel a lot more comfortable in the different conversations I've been having, since I started my career. And it also helped me move from, Switzerland to London in partnerships, and then London partnership to London media, and now from London media to New York media. And just kind of being knowledgeable of your environment and also understanding the trends, larger trends that are happening across, your industry, but also society and how things are moving, I think is very, very important.
I like it. I like it. Curiosity make you grow. That would be my
Yes.
my tagline.
And then the other one is resilience. Just be, just be resilient and, keep working hard. And I think eventually things will happen. And LeBron has that thing where he always said, hard work pays off whenever, he's posting videos of training. And I generally feel like this is very true and valid.
Good mindsets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the curiosity as well, because that's true that with curiosity you open new doors, you go and you're just like not trapped into your own easy life ecosystems or understanding, but you go always beyond and you have the growth mindset to a certain extent. Listen, Steve, thanks a lot for the time. Thanks a lot for the podcast. I know it was not an easy, like, the heat is hitting me a lot as well. But thanks a lot for the time, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I had a very good time. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoy it as much as we love creating them. If you like the episode, feel free to comment, rate, and share with people around you. You can visit our website, www.lasource.io, to learn more about our activities. You will discover a wide range of articles and can subscribe to our newsletter to receive the latest tech and sports news in your mailbox every month. Stay tuned for new episodes.
Le corner.